The Bengals take a L to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. We'll talk about this coming up next on the Wincinnati podcast.
Yes. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzada, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Exciting time to be a Bengals
How do
fan.
you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time, man. Yeah. Shock the world.
All right, welcome to the Wincinnati podcast. He is Zim. I am Ace Boogie. We are your host of the Wincinnati podcast. Thank you guys for subscribing and rocking with us. We saw a lot of your comments, just thanking us for the content throughout the season. We truly appreciate that. But please make sure that you subscribe, hit that like button, let people know about us. We're all in your podcast stores. We're all over YouTube. Shout out to the Bengals Pulse, the 513 and the Wincinnati podcast, all under the umbrella of the Wincinnati Podcast Network. We appreciate you guys rocking with us. But today for the show, we're going to talk obviously about the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Chiefs. We're going to talk about the game itself. Then we will get into some of the controversy surrounding the game, the calls, things of that nature, and then how things kind of look for the Bengals going forward. We'll get into that. Also recapping the season that we had because it still was a good season. So we'll talk about that and how things look coming up next. All right, Zim, we're going to talk about this game, recapping it, looking at all kind of different angles of it. I mean, this was a really good game. Like, if you take everything out of it, it still was a great game, right? It wasn't one of those ones like we saw earlier in the NFC side that was very lackluster, didn't live up to the hype at all, anything like that. This was one that lived up to the hype. These two teams going against each other, we've seen from the previous 3 battles how this went. It always was one that was close. And the Bengals got the best of the Chiefs the year before in the same situation. This time they fall just short. You know, for me, there's a lot of stuff here that I could look at from this game. It really comes down to the opportunities, right? For me, it's, you know, they came out, they played great defense. They really did a good job of staying in this game early on. For them to have 0 points, or not 0 points, but 0 yards in the first quarter and only be trailing 6-0, I think was a testament to this defense, what they were able to do. To me, early on, it kind of looked like Pat Mahomes was healthy. I want to do a little bit of a back and forth as we go through the game. So let me get your thoughts on just like the defense, how we opened up, like with holding them to that 6-0. What were your thoughts during that point?
Can I just start off by saying I appreciate all of y'all. I appreciate, everybody that stuck with the team the whole entire way. I mean, we were on a 10-game win streak, so I guess it's kind of easy, but I appreciate y'all checking in with the team, even if the team is lost. Here we are talking football. Let me just recap before we get there. I want to just give a shout out to Bengals Jim, Pac-Man Jones, T. Higgins, Mama T, all these different people. It was a reason why I wanted to go to the game, and I didn't realize – well, I had a lot of good reasons, as you know, like with the shirts and all different types of stuff like that didn't come, out to fruition. But I will say this. I had so much fun, so much good memories from everybody, from the tailgates, all the pregame stuff. I just thought, like, everybody was super turned out and ready to go, and our fan base was, like, reignited, like, on a different level. I have to just say that. Throughout the game, like when I got there and everything like that, I thought we showed up well. I thought on all defensive downs they were yelling "Who they?" and the Chiefs fans around us did not like it. I thought there was a lot of different high points in that game. Had the Bengals been able to pull this out, I just think that we would have looked at this like this was one of the more memorable games that we've ever had, considering what you were up against. I asked somebody earlier today, if your starting right tackle, your starting right guard, and your starting left tackle was out before this game, do you know who y'all will put in? And the guy was like, I don't really, I know, like, you named like 1 or 2 guys. It was like, I got to get back to you on that. So I think as Bengals fans, we're just like, so, let's just get it. You know, it is what it is. But the cards were stacked against us in a lot of different aspects. But early in this game, I like that you talked about, I thought that they weathered the storm. And I just kept on saying, man, I hope they can get like some kind of 7-point lead. Because if they can get a 7-point lead, then I felt like it will put the Chiefs in a spot where our defense could go after them. They couldn't run the football, and they could never just pull away. And I just thought that was just crazy that they couldn't. And I've seen it so many times. And it's a mix of different things. But more importantly, early in that game, I know the argument for them would be, yeah, like we should have had more points, but the Bengals made the stop. I get that aspect of it. But I thought early in that game, like, you know, Tyler Boyd, it's just a playbook. Like I rewatched half of the game and it's hard to watch, bro, because it's just like, it's not, the last 10 games was so different than what we had to put out there on Sunday. And then it just upsets me too, because people were like, man, you guys play so good. And I didn't know you guys were that good. And I was thinking to myself, like, I didn't think we played that good. Like, yeah. I mean, yeah. not that it was just one particular person. It was too many mistakes. I get the penalty stuff. We're going to get into that later. We're going to get into the calls. 9 penalties versus I think there are 4 or 5 penalties or whatever. I don't know. Super questionable stuff. But the defense did a really good job. But the offense was just, it was like, it was flashbacks to me. And it was flashbacks of everything that went wrong for us last season. Like every single time that I think about like the Bengals, we started off just like that. And then it would be a big play right before halftime with Jamar Chase. F it, they're down there somewhere. They couldn't do anything because they had to go max protection early in the game. And they figured that out after the second drive. Once they got on the third drive, they went max protection. But the problem with max protection to me, it's the only way to keep up for just a second. The only reason why that was a thing is because they're only sending 2 wideouts out, but they were able to get pressure with their front 4. So you got 5-6 guys back there in the back just guarding 2 guys. Like when you go to rewatch it, like go look at it. It's just T. Higgins and Jamar Chase getting doubled on the outside. The limited ones when Trent Irwin was there, he's not a guy that's getting open really fast like that. So you take the one-on-one matchup with that. I just thought early in this game, as bad as the offensive line was, Tyler Boyd going out in that game, I kept on asking everybody. He was on the sideline, and he kept on trying to flex it and go out there. And part of me, I don't know how bad the injury was. It had to be really bad. But
I think it was a thigh injury. I think it was.
But see, on the sideline, it looked like he had his helmet on, and it looked like, and I thought that was the missing key. Because the only way I thought that they could get past that part that they were at, like you talked about the 6-3 early, was just to have Tyler Boyd on option routes and nobody in the slot. Like they would bring McDuffie into the slot and put their best corner on their one-on-one matchup and totally take Trent Irwin out the game. On the outside, they just were like, we're just going to double up and we got 5 guys back here. We're just going to take our chances with it. And they couldn't get open fast enough or have a throw that Joe felt comfortable with. Yeah. That's why you see the T. Higgins interception. It's an anticipation throw because he has to throw them open because nobody's open. And when they were open, he didn't have enough time early on. So that's how I felt at the beginning.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think once they adjusted to really just doubling those guys once Tyler Boyd went out, the only way that they were actually going to be able to target those guys was throwing into double coverage. Because I know a lot of people talked about, like you said, why did they take those shots? They had to. I mean, other than that, it was just throw to Trenton Irwin and Hayden Hurst, and you're not gonna not depend on the guys that got you there. And there were opportunities where they were able to make big plays. You talk about T. Higgins jumping up for the touchdown. You talk about Jamar Chase on that 4th and 6 jumping up. The only thing was, for me, I just wish if Hayden Hurst catches that end zone pass from Joe Burrow, you have to wonder how things go. And I'm not trying to single out any particular person because there were all kind of things that happened. You also talk about the Mike Hilton shovel pass that he almost intercepted. That was a play. There's so many things I could go back to. But the one thing that I liked about this team is there was never any quit in them. Joe Burrow in that second quarter threw for like 100+ yards just in the second quarter alone to bring this team back. They get back at the half. I think it was 13-6 or something like that at the half. They were able to kind of bring that back. Then they come out in the third quarter, get a 3-and-out, come back in, get back into the game. And like you said, I just wanted us to get into the opportunity where we could get that lead. It just never seemed like we were able to get to that position. Obviously, we know for the most part what happens. It seems like things start to go our way. Pat Mahomes has the weird fumble. We recover it. They're able to score a touchdown where Mike Hilton is beat. But things are still going in our favor. Then we get to the point where with 1:30 left in the game, the Bengals get the ball back. And the whole time you're thinking Joe Burrow is going to go down. Or actually, I think it was 2:30. They run some time off of the clock. They get a big 3rd down and 16. And you're thinking, we're coming back. And what are you thinking in that situation? Because I was thinking I got number 9. We're going down. McPherson, get your leg ready. What were you thinking in that moment?
Man, it's so much. It's so much to unpack. You know what I was just watching though a second ago? I was watching I had to rewatch like a bunch of the stuff, bro. It's like a blur, bro.
Yeah.
Everything is like a blur. The one thing that kept on irritating me, the whole game, it pissed me off. And whether it was a good play or a bad play, they would not replay any plays. It was throwing me off the whole entire time. If anybody was there at the game, they'll tell you this. If you were looking for like a play, a call, whether it was good or bad, they were not replaying it. So a part of the things that everybody was saying is almost like, bro, I had to rewatch the game. Because it's just like, bro, I had to you see it that one time and then that's it. And I don't know, man. Everything's a blur.
Yeah, I mean, I hated to do it, but I rewatched it because I just wanted to see. Because they had the opportunity. You think that we're gonna get there, and then in my head, I'm just sitting there on the 3rd down, and I'm just like, he has enough time. He has enough time. And as I'm waiting for the throw to happen, which I haven't, I got to watch the all 22 on this and see if anyone was open during this play.
I got it.
And
that's what I got to see.
Chris Jones get him. It felt like we had enough time. And then that Chris Jones makes this move.
Now I haven't seen a reaction to this. But once they got the 3rd and 14, didn't you think that we were going to win?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Once we got the 3rd and 14, I
was like, that was the hardest play. I was like, that's the hardest play right here. If we can get this 3rd and 16, we're good.
Bro, I'm going to tell you another time when it was 9 minutes left and we had the ball and we were driving. It had shades of when we played them in week 15 or like some of them drives like the end of the Falcons game where they just like Mixon had a good run. There was like a good pass play in there. I want to say it was like 1 or 2 first downs in there earlier. And then the drive just stalled again. And I can't remember the sequence of play because, like I said, it's like all a blur. But I remember looking at some, I said, bro, we about to go the whole 9 minutes and like take that, take this whole thing up. We come back, get the ball again with the 4 minutes and some change. And I'm just like, each time I'm like, all right, like every time that we were on offense, I don't know if this is like my homer take. Every time that we got on offense, I just knew. I was like, all right, we about to go do the thing. Like, this is it. And every single time, like even the 4th and 6 to Jamar Chase, I hated that because I was just like, why are they like where, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I get it though. Like he had no time. And it was just so difficult, I thought, for him to manage through that. The 3rd and 14, though, I keep on going. The 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 16, whatever.
Yeah.
Once he got out that hole, because the worst thing I was saying is if they don't get this or it's an incompletion pass, I was like, man, you're pretty much just giving them the game. Like at that point, I was like, they're going to get the ball at the Bengals 40. But in my mind, when he completed it, I said, oh, it's go time. And I lied to you not. It was only like 2 or 3 Chiefs fans. And I definitely talked to a couple today, but they left. because that's how crazy. Like, if you go to your video on the chances of winning the game, I have to see what is the percentage that the Bengals would have won at the first down. Bro, the Bengals had the ball first down with what, like a minute 20 or something like that.
Yeah, it was like a minute and 20, bro.
On their 40, and all they need to do is kick a field goal to win.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't, like, bro, I can't believe it. I can't. That's the part I can't get over. Like, that's, the one thing I talk about sometimes is that I don't care what happens. Number 9 gonna get you back. Like, that's me. And this is it was the Super Bowl all over again. It was like you had your shot, and this is the moment where I thought the offensive line failed them. Whether you believe that anybody was open or not, but they had to just come up with, like, most of the time. That's the crazy thing. In the Titans game, the most incredible thing about the Titans game, if y'all ever get a chance to go watch it, is that the line is dog crap the whole game. But when it's time to throw that back shoulder Jamar Chase throw on the sideline, go look at that pocket. They just step up. Everybody just blocks for him, and it's his best pocket of the day. And then when I look at, like, the Super Bowl and I look at this, I don't know if I should just tip my hat to Aaron Donald, or I should tip my hat, in this case, to Chris Jones, which I will do. No problem doing that. But I'm just like, if you just gave my man enough time, in both of those instances, the Super Bowl, you had the greatest touchdown in the history of Super Bowls, walk-off touchdown to end the game. And then you're talking about this one just now on this drive, literally. You only needed like 20 more yards, 20 just to get him in fearsome range. I saw him in kickoffs. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I saw him in kickoffs, but I didn't think either kicker could hit from 50. Like, in warm-ups, they weren't hitting anything. But I was like, man, give my man a chance to, like, 50-something as the clock is expiring. And then we could go to overtime even if he misses or something like that. And I still like my chances.
And so, like you said,
that's the killer.
The overtime thing, obviously, the Bengals defense is out there trying to stop Pat Mahomes. I honestly was nervous because it's like, these are the two top quarterbacks. Just like they didn't want Joe Burrow to get the ball. I'm like, what's going to happen with Pat Mahomes here? Dude on this drive ends up hitting a dude that I've never even heard of before. You remember that? When he hits like a practice squad receiver out of nowhere.
I have no idea.
Bengals were playing him pretty well.
I have no idea, bro. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, bro, like, I literally, it's so much emotion. I'm sitting there thinking about so much stuff. Like, I remember it, but it's just so.
It was so painful at the end. I remember. So, like,
somebody said they threw it to Ron Tolbert.
That's funny. So they throw it to the kid, and then it's like a 3rd and 4, right? And Mahomes at this point, like he did, like earlier in the game, Mahomes, I didn't see a limp, anything. He was looking fine. Then on one play, he scrambles to the left and has the plant, and I think this is in the 3rd quarter. And you start to see the limp come back. You can see that he's struggling. Bengals start sending pressure to him. And so then I'm thinking with the limp, like there's a 3rd and 4. Nobody seems to be open, and he starts to take off running. And I'm like, there's no way that he's going to get this, but he ends up getting it. He ends up getting the first down. But as he's doing that, Joseph Osai, and it's crazy because one of the things I said when I did to cut the tape on with Joseph Osai was that he, like, plays all the way to the whistle. Like, he'll run from the other side of the field to chase somebody to try to make the play. So this kid is doing what he normally does, playing to the whistle, loses track of where the sideline is, tries to get Mahomes. I think when they interviewed him, he said he was trying to pull him back from getting the first down, but also is trying to slow down because of his momentum. It leads to what they deem a late hit. They give them the flag, which is huge because it adds on another 15 yards to it. And as you said, some people believed maybe their kicker doesn't make that if it's not a chip shot and it forces overtime. But obviously that happens. To me, I don't blame the kid. The game to me didn't come just off of that play. I think Osai's got a bright future, but he's got to be smarter in that situation because what I remember is Mike Hilton standing like right there, and he runs past like Mike Hilton and still gets him. And Mike Hilton's just sitting there stopping, not touching him at all. I understand the kid's trying to make a play. He actually had an amazing game in this one if you go back and look at it. But that pretty much was the game, bro. And after that, it's a lot of cigar smoke. It's a lot of talk. It's a lot of all of this stuff. And, honestly, that probably came just from the Burrowhead stuff that started earlier in the week. That motivated them. To me, the worst part about the mayor and the Burrowhead stuff wasn't really them riling up just the players. To me, it was riling up the crowd because it just made it so much harder, like to the point where these guys were trying to set a record with the loudness for that just because we called it Burrowhead. Not saying that, it wasn't a loud environment, but it kind of put the battery in their back to be a little louder, cause some delayed games and stuff like that during the game. But honestly, this was a Joe Burrow drive away from becoming a real thing. Like, a lot of people can talk about, they can say that we did this and that. At that minute and 30 mark, those dudes, I think, thought that this one could be over and that we were going to get the best of them. But let's talk about these calls, bro, because there was a lot of weird things going on. I mean, to me, I don't know how it was with you at the game. What did you think of some of those spots, bro? Because, like, that's where it started for me, was like, it would be like we had obvious, first downs. And let's say it was on second.
That P-Ryan spot was terrible. Like, it was like a 3rd and 1 or something like that.
Yes.
Bro, it was so weird with that the whole time.
The Mecole Hardman handing it.
The Mecole Hardman, immediately I went to Hooters right after the game or whatever. Because I was like, I'm not going downtown or whatever, and then just seeing a whole bunch of Chiefs people celebrate or whatever. I went to like Hooters like afterwards on the TV. The first play I see is the damn that's Hardman that's doing that. That's not
I don't know if it was him or MVS.
That one McKinnon?
Nah, I don't think it was. I don't know who it was. I just remember that it wasn't on the first down, bro.
It's a dude in the comments that's talking about the Chiefs injuries. I gotta bring this up at some point once we get past this part. But I feel like they need to hear this because this is that, like, when they bring up their injuries, I think it's insane when you think about the Bengals offensive line or you think about the Bengals like cornerback 1 and Cheeto Bay or Wouzier, like all these different people that were not there. But cool. The play that you're talking about in the field of play, it happened so fast. It didn't even look close. Mm-hmm. Now they did show the replay on some things. They showed this, but they showed it from this weird ass angle. It's like
so it looks like it was Valdez Scantling. Sorry. I just wanted to get that out there.
They this joint diagonally, and then they like so that it looks so you're looking at a yellow marker across or whatever. When I got to see the sideline, I'm like, bro, that joint is not close. Like, that's not a first down.
Right.
Like, I guess they're using the tip of the ball or whatever. I don't know, bro. Like, I thought that.
To me, I
thought that's why, because he had to bring it back in because somebody went to go swipe at it. So before he got, I don't know.
Nah. So, when you're watching it on TV, sometimes they say that the line that you're looking at, that's the first down line, isn't always accurate. Sometimes it's not where it's supposed to be. I can tell you from watching it, he did not, even when he stuck it out, it still wasn't past that marker that was on TV. But there was that one. There was one when the Bengals had it. There were a lot of play calls, bro, that were just, you just look at it and it's like, wow, for real. Like, the 3 third downs is what everybody is talking about, right? The 3 third downs, they make those calls. Now, I did see, if you were watching from home, there was a referee. It was just weird because it was so late. But there is a referee that was, I believe, behind the Chiefs defense that was trying to run to the field. And it was weird because all the referee, I think, was trying to do was just add a couple seconds back to the clock, which was weird. Why would you just stop everything for that? But nobody hears them because it's Arrowhead, right? Like, everybody's loud. The players don't hear the whistle. The play continues. It's weird because they literally let the whole sequence go. There's nobody going like this. There's nobody throwing anything out to stop players from playing. And the Bengals get a stop, and then it's like, nope, that didn't count. All right, so then they run it again. Then hey, flag. Then hey, flag again. It was just the weirdest. They gave him.
Yeah, was that a legit? Like, see now, when that got called, I was told that was a legit pass interference.
You're talking
call.
about the Eli Apple. Yes,
Yeah.
Eli Apple did wrap his.
Okay.
Yes, that is true.
All right.
That is
now,
true.
like, let me ask you this: you think a Chiefs fan would own up any call, like if they lost the game, whatever? Like how Bengals fans are owning up that was a pass interference. I feel like that's wild. You know what it reminds me of? Like the Steelers. Like when we say that y'all are dirty, right? Mm-hmm. Then they say, well, y'all got Vontaze Burfict. We'd be like, all right, cool. He was dirty. We'll admit that, right?
Right.
Or you might, whatever. We'll say, all right. And then we'll be like, all right, who y'all got that's dirty? And they'll be like, nobody. And right. I feel like that's how the Chiefs conversation is going with penalties right now. It's like they'll argue up and down about like, I mean, the guy ran on the field. I mean, the referee ran on the field. I mean, it's clear as day. But then when you go, and then we'll say, all right, cool. we'll be like, cool. All right, Eli Apple, that was a pass interference. You feel like any calls were funny on your end? Nope.
Yeah.
Like, don't you like that's the vibes I get off of it. It's like they don't have like if it were the same way, like I'd have been like, yeah, I feel like that call went in our favor, but we won the game.
Yeah, to me, like let me get this straight. Just because we're talking about, what happened with the refereeing, that was just a major talking point. I'm not saying that had anything to do with, them winning the game. Like we still had a chance despite all of that. The refereeing was horrible. And I mean, honestly, if you look around the league, it's been pretty bad. That was some of the most atrocious refereeing in this game. And especially for it to happen on this stage at this point. And, a lot of people are saying, was it rigged and that? I don't believe in the rigged stuff, but when you're a National Football League, and I had to listen to my dad about this because, I didn't talk to him about the game or anything, but he kind of made a good point. One of the things that a lot of people were uncomfortable about with the NFL setting up a franchise in Vegas was just the history of sports betting, referees, it influencing the game, it being dangerous territory. And it used to be a taboo thing like, oh, yeah, the NFL is never going to put a team in Vegas because obviously people are there gambling. That could affect the sport. You had a Pete Rose stuff. You had a Tim Donaghy stuff in the NBA. And what my dad said is, it's kind of ironic that a lot of the refereeing is really bad, more so than past years, with them introducing and embracing sports gambling and sports betting. It just really kind of opens the door a little bit for people to say, hey, we've seen refs get corrupted in the past by money and stuff like that. Is that happening here? I think one of the things that people said is when I saw Drake put like $1 million on the game, I was like, there's a lot of money on this game, like with some of the decisions that are being made.
I said the same. Like $1 million in the overall scheme of things. I said the same thing. Coming into that game, come on, bro. Who in the like even the Chiefs fans that bet me like the Week 15 one, none of them came back to bet me because they knew about Pat Mahomes' ankle. What would make somebody like Drake just be like, I'm gonna bet $1 million on the Chiefs? And the return wasn't even crazy like that because they were a 1.5 favorite at home. So it wasn't like you bet $1 million to get 3. It was like betting $1 million to get 2. Like I gotta look at his bet slip again.
And I agree with you when I saw that. And you already know because we run in circles where we know players, not saying that we use that for gambling or anything. So if you're listening to this, that doesn't happen. But obviously Drake is in that circle, right? When we saw Drake last year at the Super Bowl, he's hanging with Jarvis Landry. He's there obviously supporting OBJ. So I'm pretty sure he could get in contact, and maybe that's what he did. Maybe he knew that Pat Mahomes' ankle wasn't as bad as people were making it, but like you said, the timing of it was weird because it was like the night before he puts this money on it, and it's like, oh, he must know something because most people were only favoring the Bengals because they felt like Pat Mahomes on one leg, they've done it before. Like, how are they gonna? And the way that Pat Mahomes played in the first half, it almost was like he didn't have an ankle injury. So it's like that just opens Pandora's box when you got so much
I
money
could
on
tell
it
a little
for the
bit.
refereeing.
I could tell a little bit, but I knew that if they lost this game, nobody they would have been talking about the ankle, And I was thinking to myself, like, I never felt like the ankle was like a big issue because he was never really under siege like that.
Right.
Like when he tried to climb out the pocket, I felt like he tried to go up the middle, and we just collapsed with the same stuff that we always do.
Right.
I thought he did a real good job throughout the game, like resetting his platform and like almost like backyard football. He would stop, look a guy off, move off to his right every single time he was going to his right. He would go to his right, reset, and when he would break to his right, the wide receiver would break off of their man, and he would just throw him open. And he did that for he literally got like 100-something yards off that in like the end of the first and then the start of the second. I feel like he just did that over and over again. And it took to the third quarter for the Bengals to adjust to it. And then I thought he looked like a little bit more pedestrian at that point. Right. You got to think, there's only one guy that threw for 300 yards on that defense, and that was Tom Brady. And he did that in garbage time. So from a Bengals fan's perspective, you like, bro, like his game in week 15, that was like his lowest passing yards on a season up until the end of the season when they played the Raiders or something. And I thought he set out the end or something like that. But I mean, he threw for like 230, like the first time we seen him. He just threw for what, like 327 or something like that. So
bro,
like
I'm gonna be real right now. Dude is unreal. Like, I feel like a lot of people,
I feel like him coming back is unreal.
People counting him out really lit a fire up under. I mean, when the dude walked into the stadium, bro, I'm sure you probably see this. I don't know if you saw it or not. He literally flicked off the camera like he's walking into the stadium, his own Kansas City camera. He's like, hits them with the middle finger. I think it would have been.
You thought he did that on purpose? I thought he just fixing his sunglasses like this.
Nah, bro, that was a straight up middle finger, dog. That was like, yeah, I feel like he knew that the media was trying to watch him. Nah, I feel like that was a straight up middle finger, bro.
Can I say like a real thing? I don't really watch a lot of his interviews and stuff like that, and I've never looked at the Kansas City Chiefs like maybe how they view themselves. I thought this week was a good chance for me to like look at like interviews from him and stuff. I was trying to learn more about the injury and stuff like that. And this might be a weird take, but I think he's a good guy. Like I thought like they tried to show him, like there was a dude that tried to show like he's cooler than Joe Burrow. I thought he was like I'm a really good judge of character. You know, me and you, I always talk about like, bro, I'm not feeling like a certain person or something like that. I thought like, I don't think that he got a malicious bone in his body for like people for no reason. I feel like he just got the weight of the world. When he would come to his pressers, I could see the pressure on him to be something greater. And I listened to like the people in the spaces talk about him. They'd be like, man, he's worth like $500 million. And they really be talking like, and in my mind, I guess that's the part that I am a homer. I know he's really good, but I never really looked at him off the field. And all that family stuff, I don't play with that stuff. Like I don't do like the Patrick Mahomes memes, and I'm not.
Yeah, we don't.
Like I might like one time I think his wife said something crazy, and I like reposted something that she said just to show her like how stupid that was. But like I'm not making me. But like him as a person, I thought he was a very likable guy. Like based off of everything I said, I don't think that he, I'm not paying attention to his voice. I just like I'm just listening to like what is he saying and like what's the intention behind it. And I thought he was like. He's a very likable guy. I think Joe Burrow's a very likable guy. And it kind of reminded me of, maybe you could make a comparison to Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady before he went to Tampa Bay or something like that. I think everybody hated Tom Brady, so maybe that's not a good example. But I think both of them are pretty likable. I know that a lot of fans think that Joe Burrow is like some bravado type, like, and he's nothing like that. He just wears cool outfits when he goes to games, but outside of that, he's like a homebody type of guy.
Yeah, I mean, I respected him.
Just him as a person, I thought he was dope.
Because I didn't really hear him like you saw all of their other players kind of trashing our players taking shots. I mean, he didn't really do that. He just was like, the mayor came at me, I had to do something. I just think him as a player, that was an amazing game for him to do that, losing the players that he lost, playing on one leg. I got to give him his credit. I'm not sitting here saying like I'm going to take him over Burrow per se, but I'm not mad if anybody does. But I just got to give him his credit for playing because him and Chris Jones, I think they like a lot of people can talk about MVS, the other guys and stuff. Those two guys together are the reason that they won the game, in my opinion, because you see this dude on one leg, like when he ran for the first down and still got it limping, bro. I was just like, how is this? How is this even happening?
He sold that daggone push though at the end. I mean, I don't think that
he flopped.
That doesn't make him a bad. He sold the hell. Like, have you seen this other replay somebody put out today where Osai actually trips him up, and so he's falling before he even pushes. That was my first time seeing this angle. I don't know if y'all seen that in the chat, but I was going to say, I forgot what I was going to say, but I was going to say Mahomes played a great game. I thought that if the Bengals would have just capitalized on a couple moments, we could have cooked them, and we just never got a chance to really cook them like I wanted to. Like, I feel like they could have got him, but the Bengals needed a lead in that game. That was the one game that I was like, when it started off like the way that it started off, I know that, like, even my bro Ty, shout out to Ty that sat next to me, even at halftime, he was like, bro, we down 7, we about to tie it up. I'm like, yeah, bro. Like, I'm like, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, bro, we need to get up. I'm not trying to tie these dudes. And then, because what do we always say? You don't put it in the ref's hands. And I just thought if they had a lead, it could have put them in a spot where they knew that, like, they were stopping the run. So then Lou would have had him in a position where he could do some of the drop 8 stuff. I thought that there were so many different parts in the game where he couldn't relinquish just all those rushing things because he had to get the defense off the field. And so he couldn't do the drop 8 or the 3 fronts because he knew that the Chiefs would have countered and ran on it, even though they weren't running really good. And I think it was just like,
we stopped the run.
I think he was just like, man, I believe in what we're doing. If we could stop them and get the ball back, we'll be straight. I would hate to give up like a big play to them or something like that.
But outside of giving Pat Mahomes a flower, I got to get a defense the flowers too, because honestly, like I said, going into it, I thought we were going to be able to beat them and expose their defense. I thought we were going to be walking up and down the field on that defense. I got to give them their credit. I was clearly wrong. I talked trash about Frank Clark. He was able to make.
I thought we was going to run. I thought we were going to run on them. Yeah, the fact that we did not run, I thought we were going to run. Maybe it's because how good we looked the week prior. I just knew we were going to run. I thought that Burrow might have. I thought Burrow might have like 250, 270, like what he did. But I thought that the Bengals would run really good based off of what I saw on tape on the Chiefs prior. I was like, bro, you could run all over them. I thought the Bills' run defense was better than the Chiefs.
Yeah, I thought that they should have definitely ran it more. But I got to tip my hat to them. The way that they used Chris Jones, moving him around on the backups that we had, whether it was Hakeem Adeniji, Max Sharpen, they moved him around. I got to give credit to that secondary as well. Like, for those dudes to be rookies to come in there and play the way that they did, Trent McDuffie, the other kid, I don't even know his name. He replaced the other rookie, and then all 3 of them ended up playing in that game. Not saying that the Bengals couldn't have come back and won, but it wasn't like that defense was definitely better than the Bills. Like, the Bills, I felt like we were able to do whatever we really wanted against them. This defense, it was like we could make plays, but it was kind of a struggle to make them. There were several opportunities where we got pushed into like 3rd and longs, and we just had to make those plays in the 4th downs as well. But obviously, a lot of that, too, was tied to Tyler Boyd. And the difference between, I feel like, a game in that game versus the game where we lost T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd against Cleveland, Cleveland's defensive coordinator never adjusted and changed the game plan. I think immediately the Chiefs changed their game plan when it came to that. But yeah, they did their thing. But obviously, like you talked about, they had their injuries, but the Bengals had their injuries as well. You talk about the 3 offensive linemen. It just hurt, bro, because it seemed like we kind of, not necessarily a false sense of confidence, because I don't want to take it away. And one thing that you said in Spaces really stuck out to me is you said, like, yeah, that was a good performance for the offensive line, but I want to see them without the snow, right? And this is the game where we see them without the snow, where people can have their footing and stuff like that. And obviously they struggled in this one. It didn't seem like anybody on the line at some point didn't have a miscue, whether it was Volson, whether it was Ted Karras with the penalty, whether it was Jackson Carman giving up a sack as well. Like, it seemed like everybody at least had one play, whether it was a penalty or someone that got by them, where they were just able to get to Joe. And you could just see the frustration on Joe's face, where he was not necessarily frustration, but him just looking at them saying, like, look, guys, just give me one drive. If you could just give me one drive, we good.
I'm about to watch it again.
They couldn't give it to him, bro.
I'm gonna tell you.
I don't know if you saw that at the game, but they zoomed in, and it was like right before we got that last one, and Joe went to the bench, and they were like, he never really does this. He's talking to the line, and you can see him say, like, really, just give me one chance, bro, and we're good. And then the third down happens. They don't give him the chance that he needed.
Damn. I'm gonna tell you, he was so pissed. I don't know if they showed this on there. He was so pissed at the refs on that intentional grounding call that actually gave him the third. That's what led to that.
So I just read something on that. They said that Pat Mahomes got away earlier doing the same thing. And they're saying that.
But they're trying to say somebody, because if you don't throw it to the line of scrimmage, somebody has to be in the vicinity of it.
Vicinity, right.
So somebody said, so they were like, so the Pat Mahomes ball hits the ground and then it bounces to Kelsey. So somebody would the people were like, well, it was close to Kelsey. I'm like, no, it just hit the ground. It was the same set of circumstances, bro. I thought that was weird. I was just saying the intentional grounding one. I don't know if they showed that on TV.
Oh, I'm sorry. So somebody said Carman didn't give up a sack.
No, he didn't. Hell no.
I guess that must be the
he
PFF
gave up three
thing.
pressures.
There was one where, and they must have credited it to Volson or somebody that was there. There was one where he was looking like he's holding his guy. Then he lets him go thinking that somebody's going to take him. And then that person goes straight to the quarterback and gets the sack. So they must have not awarded that to Carman. But at the time when you first saw it on TV, it just looks like he's trying to hand him off to somebody or the dude beat him for a sack. So, I guess after the fact, it's not considered a sack. But at the time when you were watching it, most people was like, what happened?
The intentional grounded joint. He was so mad. And he was so angry. I don't know if y'all seen this on TV. I never seen Joe Burrow that mad before. He was arguing with the ref so much that he had to run back to the huddle. I don't know if y'all seen and then they had to run back out for the next play because he was arguing with the ref so much. Like, bro, like, what are you talking about? Like, I threw the ball. And this is the key element of that play. His arm was hit when he threw the ball. So when he threw when your arm is hit, you can't control how far the ball gonna go. So that was his main argument. And then it was a guy in P-Ryan that was right there. So when they called that, I was like, and then somebody said, well, this is how I feel like they treating all of them calls throughout the game. And it's so disingenuous. People be like, bro, like just like the Mixon call. Remember the Mixon gets hit on the first down. I mean, he gets a first down and he's knocked out of bounds or whatever at the 1 yard line. And then the dude comes and hits him real late. The response online is, well, I mean, we scored on the next play. That's beside the point. Like, you have to get the call. To me, we ain't got no problem with the offside joint at the end of the game. Like, if I'm being real, I don't got no real problem with it because I get it. And that's how they protect the quarterback. The caller in that spot, that's a different thing. But if you're not going to call a way more blatant call on the Mixon one when he's out of the bounds, like, bro, he was so far out of bounds.
There was another one on Joe, too. After he had already thrown the ball, dude pushes him on the ground.
Oh, the late hit on him. I thought that one was a little bit of, you got to call it, though. And so that's the thing. If you're not calling those, then you can't come back later on and say, we're going to call this one with the game on the line. Like, let me tell y'all this. I saw them guys in warm-ups. I saw the Chiefs pass on a kick that they could potentially kick from like 55, 56 yards earlier. Remember, they punted because the Bengals declined the penalty. Because remember, the Bengals could have backed them up to like a 3rd and like 20 something, but instead they were like, nah, we're going whatever, 4th and 6. And then the Chiefs punted it to us, right? Like before the sequence I'm talking about. They could have kicked a field goal then. But this is the part that I'm trying to tell everybody. Like, the football was so cold, none of the kickers were looking good. They didn't want to kick nothing from 55, 56. At the end of the game, the offside penalty is literally how you get that field goal and you win, is because that 15 yards was the difference between kicking a 45-yard field goal and a 57, 58-yard field goal, which is much different. And if he would have kicked the field goal from that point, I honestly think that they might have entertained the idea. Now, they would have kicked the field goal. They had 7 seconds left. They probably would have tried to call one play, throw an out route to the out route, but we would have protected the boundaries. If you throw to the middle, I'm going to just tackle you, and you try to do another hook and ladder.
The Sky Moore return, too, bro. There was so much, like...
But the Sky Moore return, I was right there. Illegal block in the back.
Yeah.
And our sideline went crazy. Bro, our sideline went crazy because it was right in front of the referees. And so everybody on our side was like, what? And if you know they call that, the Chiefs get the ball at like I think like the 10-yard line or something like that, because it's a spot penalty from where it occurred. So, bro, it was like at the it was like the 15, 20-yard line. So all of that weird stuff, I just thought it was crazy, bro. I thought that blocking back was
that's
like
why
right in front of the ref, though.
That's why me and you always say don't leave the game in the ref's hands. You got to go out and take care of business, because when this happens, that's what's going to happen at the end. I will share the exchange between Pat Mahomes and Joe Burrow after the game.
I have a question.
Pat Mahomes, this is what he said to Joe Burrow. Many more, dog. And when he says many more, that means many more games, conference championships that they are going to be playing in. So all you ops in here that are not Chiefs fans, if you're a Ravens fan, Steelers fan, all of that, they're saying that he knows he's going to be seeing us. He's not saying that to y'all.
Right.
He said, you have a hell of a game. And then he also said, you have a hell of a career, dog. And Joe Burrow said back to him, you too, brother, go win it now. So, like, there's a big admiration and respect between those boys.
Can I ask a question to any Chiefs fan that's in the crowd right now? Because I have been reading some of the comments, super irritating, lame as hell. But let me ask you a question. If your starting right tackle was out in Wiley, and your starting right guard was out in Tooney, and your starting left tackle in Orlando Brown was out, in the comments, tell me, who would you run out? Any team. It could be a Ravens fan. It could be whatever. Tell me, who would you run out of if you had those same set of circumstances? Because that's what we had with La'el Collins, Alex Cappa, arguably two of our best guys on our offensive line, and then our starting left tackle and Jonah Williams. Name me the 3 guys that y'all would have put off the bench. And do you think that for a second you're in any of them games? And do you think that you're throwing for 270 yards? Can anybody tell me that part right? That's all I want to know about that. So to suggest, and the reason why I said that is because the dude said, man, we had dudes like out like wide receiver. You had wide receivers that hadn't really done nothing all year. Like, we're talking about a 1,000-yard receiver in Tyler Boyd that was out. You know what I'm saying? At the beginning of the season, we've always said it's never about injuries. But if you're posing something to us and saying and talking about your injuries and you won a game, then goddamn it, I'm going to respond to it. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the part that I don't understand. And then they try to aggravate, or they try to say a bunch of dumb stuff that doesn't make sense. You could take the dub graciously, and then you could get the same respect returned to you. But if you're saying stuff like, oh, yeah, I mean, we had all these injuries, like, bro, you didn't have a Tyler Boyd injury. Like, you're not going to convince me that none of them dudes are Tyler Boyd. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's where the conversation starts. But the 3 offensive linemen one, the reason why I asked that question, because if that same thing happened to you, you wouldn't have done anything. And then the reason why I know that is because you went to a Super Bowl with the same set of circumstances. So if anybody knows that, it would be a Chiefs fan. You got blown out, 31-9 or 30-something-9 in that game? That's why I posed the questions. That's why I think it's so crazy that a Chiefs fan would now come back and be like, well, I mean, like it's nothing. Like, that's a big deal. How do you know? Because you lost and got blown out in the Super Bowl with the same set of circumstances. Joe Burrow had a chance to go win a game and lost by 3 points in the same circumstances. That's weird to me. That's all I wanted to say about that part.
Yeah, so Looking forward, I think, one of the things that I will say about this is a team that made back-to-back conference championships. This is a team that has Joe Burrow, who clearly now is, if you don't consider him the best quarterback in the league, you definitely consider him the second best. And I think everybody knows that. This is a team that they're going to be able to continue to build upon. Obviously, there's some free agents that they're going to have this offseason. They'll have decisions to make with Jesse Bates, Pratt, Hayden Hurst, Eli Apple, just to name a few, Drew Chrisman even. So they got a lot of guys that are going to be free agents. But this was a team that I feel like the biggest thing that I feel like they learned from this season was being able to win 10 straight games in a row, right? Like when this team comes out, I feel like next year, I feel like they know how to put together a string of wins and continue to win. And I think that they know the importance of having the 1 seed or the 2 seed. I think next season, it was an amazing season, bro, because a lot of people wrote us off at 0-2. A lot of people said that Bengals weren't going to make the playoffs. A lot of people said that it was a fluke. A lot of people said a lot of stuff. But to me, at the end of the day, they proved everybody wrong. Like getting back to the conference championship is not and losing is not a failure. You were there. You beat the Ravens 2 weeks in a row, mind you. 2 weeks in a row. You were 2-1 against the Ravens and that defense. You went in. You also beat the Buffalo in Buffalo when the NFL tried to screw you in any type of way that they could. Then you went to Kansas City to Arrowhead again, and you almost won again. You're literally one drive away from a potential, or one play away from returning to the same Super Bowl. So definitely not a failure. These teams are going to do this for the next decade. You got Joe Burrow for the next decade. Obviously, the biggest thing is getting him paid. But Zen, what are your thoughts on the season and things moving forward?
What about our coaches that are now they're trying to put, they're trying to get our boy Troy Walters. If y'all haven't seen, we had a great interview.
Troy?
You didn't see that?
I didn't see that. I saw the OC and the DC. I didn't.
Bro, everybody, they trying to get everybody, bro. The only person we got right now is pitcher. They trying to get everybody, bro. Mm-hmm. Troy Walters is a candidate for offensive coordinator now for the Texans.
Oh, goodness.
With DeMeco Ryans and stuff. And I think that's a good look, bro. Like, I ain't gonna hold you. I think that
Troy.
I love Troy Walters, bro.
Love you, bro. Love you, man. So, hey, no matter which way it goes, congratulations.
But hold on, you asked me a question, though. You asked me about the future of the team. Future of the team. I feel like the team is looking really good. I like where we are from a cap perspective. They have the third to fourth, depending on who you look at, third to fourth most cap space moving forward. The Burrow deal is about to get done, so that's really important. I think they come back and get Logan Wilson. T. Higgins is the one that we got to make sure that we keep the perspectives kind of true. Dude is about to go up against playing it potentially for $4 million a season, which isn't going to fly for a top 10 wide receiver. I think they try to get the deal done, but you don't know, with his agent, and that's the one thing I don't. I had a chance to hang out with his mom. We hung out tough before the game. Had a blast. Shout out to Mama T. I thought, she loves Cincy. I'm going to tell y'all that straight up. We hung out. She was at the tailgate. She was on the mic. I got on the mic. She loves Cincy, bro. She even was talking trash, I saw on Twitter to the Chiefs and stuff. I love her to death. And I just want the best for them. But I know that they want to be here, and I think that Joe Burrow wants those people like T. Higgins and Jamar Chase here too. And I know Joe Burrow, it's not contract friendly stuff that I think I mean it's not money friendly stuff. I think he'll be he'll be a little bit multiple on what he'll allow the Bengals to do in terms of his contract if it means bringing those guys back. Those are the things that I think about. As far as getting there every single year. It's tough, man. It is tough. Anybody that thinks that what we did for the last 2 seasons was easy or it was luck, you just need to see your way out of football conversations. It doesn't exist. The runs that this team went on, and this was my favorite team ever. The team that just lost.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like that was my favorite team ever, bro. There's a world where if they don't lose those 3 games, whatever, you know, like with those 3 walk-off field goals, you're talking about a team that probably don't even, you know, that I mean, outside of that Browns game, like you're talking about a 1-loss type of team. Like they were that level, and it just sucks that what happened to them right before the playoffs, and I hate that for them, bro. Like with the offensive line thing, they just couldn't overcome. They overcame it a little bit, but they just couldn't do it, you know, in that one game. And the sad part about it is it's a lot about like how Dalton was, you know, in 2015. Alex Kappa was going to be, you know, back for the Super Bowl, you know, and I think that Jonah Williams would have been back too, even though Carmen was playing really good. I thought Carmen played good, but you had those guys, and I think they would have had a chance, you know, and I thought they had a real good chance. And I'm just here to tell y'all, I know that they're good enough. The only thing that can stop them is health, and it's going to be like this every single year. Like there's nothing, like don't listen to nothing no op is telling you about cap stuff or none of that stuff. Like those are their fears that they're projecting out. I promise you. Yeah. Everybody that needs to be here is going to be here. The Bengals are 100% going to take care of them, and we know this. So don't like treat it like junk mail. Somebody tell you that somebody not going to get signed. Just wait and see, and I guarantee you that the plan is in place to do those signings first, and I think they're in a good spot. They're in a really good spot compared to a lot of these teams.
Yeah, I think they're in a great spot, man. Getting Joe Burrow locked up is definitely going to be major for them. And I think that they're going to make the right moves. It's a big offseason for Duke Tobin and company. Let's hope that they get these things done. I think they've already started the Joe Burrow negotiations and getting him extended. And then hopefully T will be next. And, you know, a lot of players still want to be here, man. Like, that's what happens when you have a winning organization. That was something that Jermaine Pratt talked about. He wants to be at a winning organization. He wants to be a Super Bowl champion. Left the door a little bit open. Jesse Bates did as well, saying that he wanted to be here. So let's see what happens, man. You know, obviously there's going to be tough decisions that have to be made. But I think when it's all said and done and the smoke clears, I think you'll be talking about a great Bengals team coming back next year to play it. Zim, I wanted to go ahead and give a shout out to some of our sponsors this year. Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue. Definitely continue to support them. Make sure you stop by, get some Uno wings. 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. They're going to have food all year round, so continue to support them. Huge shout out to them for rocking with us. Also, fans of Cincy, shout out to them as well for rocking with us this season.
With them. I sat with my
man with Dusko
with Dusko at the game. I sat with him. We had a pretty good time. It ended not like what we wanted, but it was lit. Shout out fans of Cincy is an up and coming like group that I feel like is going to make some huge waves. They were already looking at tailgate possibilities if we would have went to the Super Bowl, which sucks. So I hate it for them. But if you are really looking to travel this upcoming season and stuff, fans of Cincy is a great group that we witnessed. We took over New Orleans. They had a great tailgate out there in Nashville. They had some really good tailgates like throughout the season. So continue to support them. Also, a huge shout out to Dr. Pierce. Pierce Dental Group was one of our good sponsors that I thought we did a lot of good stuff with earlier in the year. If y'all don't know, every single one of the players on the Bengals has gotten all their dental work there. So, like, when we say that we talk to players or we have connections and all these different things like that, a lot of this stems from a lot of stuff that you are seeing, but you're probably not really paying too much attention to it. But Pierce Dental Group, just go look at their page. If you want a free consultation or anything like that, check it out. They do amazing work. I was working on something with him. He actually put the diamonds in T. Higgins' teeth. I think I came up with the idea, but we're going to let them just whatever. But at the same time, I just think that they do some really cool stuff. Go check them out. They're downtown. And I say that to say this. If you're watching this right now, you have a business, and maybe it's not in Cincinnati, maybe it's anywhere in the country. You see the viewerships. It's 200 live viewers in here right now. Me and my partner Ace are doing numbers, over 20 million views per month on Twitter alone. If you want to get your message out, want to get your information out, have a company, and you want to get people to know about it, we can organically put it into people's face. if you have anything like that, make sure you DM me on Twitter or email me at zimhude@gmail.com. Email Ace. It doesn't matter. We're easy to find. You can DM me and just pitch something to us and we work with you.
Yep. So follow Zim on Twitter at ZimHude. Follow him on Instagram as well at Zim_Hude. Follow me at New Stripe City on both of those platforms. Tap in with us. Also follow the podcast Twitter account at Wincinnati Pod. We appreciate you guys again for a wonderful season. We will be back. Like we said, we're going to be expanding the Wincinnati network. This was year 1, so we appreciate all of y'all for y'all support. We're going to take this to an even bigger level coming up for next season. Definitely be sure to go to zimhude.com, cop some of that merch. Head to newstripecity.com, get you some merch. We appreciate all you guys. This has been the Wincinnati Podcast.
Yes. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Hushmanzada, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Time to be a Bengals
How do you
fan.
balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time? Shock the world.